My name is Victoria Chen, and I'm about to tell you how I discovered that my entire marriage was a lie and how I made damn sure everyone else discovered it too. I'm 38 years old, a senior marketing director at a pharmaceutical company in Seattle. I make $180,000 a year. I have an MBA from Northwestern. I speak 3 languages. I run half marathons. By every objective measure, I'm successful, capable, intelligent. And for 6 years, I was married to a man who thought I was stupid enough to believe his lies. Let me start at the beginning, because you need to understand who I was before everything fell apart. You need to understand what I thought I had, so you can appreciate what I lost and what I took back. I met Mistress Chen at a networking event in 2017. He was 35, working as a regional sales manager for a tech startup. Charming, confident, with dark hair that he wore just slightly too long, and a smile that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. We talked for 2 hours that night, standing by the bar while the event swirled around us, completely absorbed in each other. He told me about growing up in Portland, about his dreams of starting his own consulting firm someday, about how he loved hiking and terrible action movies and authentic Thai food. I told him about my work, my apartment in Capitol Hill, my complicated relationship with my traditional Taiwanese parents, who still couldn't quite understand why their daughter prioritized career over marriage and children. They sound like they love you a lot, Marcus said. They just want you to be happy. They think happiness only comes in one specific package, I replied. Does it? He asked, and there was something in his eyes. Interest, curiosity, maybe even understanding. We dated for a year before he proposed. A year of dinners and hiking trips and lazy Sunday mornings. A year of meeting each other's families and friends. A year of slowly, carefully building something that felt real and solid and permanent. His proposal was simple. We were at Rattlesnake Ledge after a morning hike, looking out over the lake, and he just turned to me and said, "Victoria, I want to build a life with you. Will you marry me?" No grand gesture. No crowd of people with cameras. Just him and me and a simple gold ring. I said yes because I loved him, because I thought I knew him, because I believed that we wanted the same things. We got married in 2018, small ceremony at a boutique hotel on Bainbridge Island. 50 guests, most of them family. My parents cried, happy tears, finally, because their daughter was getting married. Marcus's mother hugged me and whispered, "Thank you for making him so happy." I was happy too. Deliriously, completely happy. After the wedding, we moved into a beautiful craftsman house in the Wallingford neighborhood. 3 bedrooms, hardwood floors, a backyard with a cherry tree that bloomed every spring. The rent was $3,800 a month, which we split evenly. Marcus made about $120,000 at the time, so the split was roughly proportional to our incomes. Let me be very clear about this. We rented that house. We did not own it. The landlord was a retired couple who had moved to Arizona and kept the Seattle property as an investment. We signed a standard lease agreement, 12 months at a time, renewable annually. This detail matters. This detail is everything. We settled into married life easily. I'd worked hard to keep my independence. I kept my own bank account, my own credit cards, my own car. We had a joint account for shared expenses like rent and groceries, and we each contributed to it monthly. Marcus handled the actual bill payments because he said he enjoyed managing that sort of thing, and I was happy to let him. I was working 60-hour weeks, traveling for conferences, climbing the corporate ladder. Having one less thing to think about seemed reasonable. Looking back now, I can see how carefully he positioned himself. How he took over just enough control to matter, but not so much that I'd notice. The first 3 years of our marriage were good. Really good. We took trips to Japan and Mexico. We hosted dinner parties where Marcus would cook elaborate meals and I'd make craft cocktails. We talked about maybe having kids someday, though neither of us felt rushed. We were building something, I thought. A partnership. A life. I worked long hours, but Marcus never complained. "I'm proud of you," he'd say when I came home late from the office. "You're amazing at what you do." He traveled too for his job. Regional sales meant visiting clients in Portland, San Francisco, Vancouver. Sometimes he'd be gone for 3 or 4 days at a time. I trusted him completely. Why wouldn't I? He was my husband. He called every night when he was away. He sent me photos of his hotel rooms, and terrible conference coffee. He seemed as devoted to our marriage as I was. In 2021, Marcus got promoted to VP of Sales. His salary jumped to $160,000. We celebrated with champagne and talked about maybe buying a house someday, building equity instead of paying rent. "Let's wait another year or two," Marcus said. "Make sure we have a really solid down payment." It seemed prudent, responsible. I agreed. What I didn't know was that Marcus had no intention of buying a house with me. What I didn't know was that Marcus had very different plans for our future, plans that didn't include me at all. The discovery happened on a Wednesday in March 2024. I was supposed to be in Portland for a 2-day conference, but the event got canceled at the last minute due to a severe weather warning. I decided to head home rather than stay in a hotel alone, so I caught an earlier flight back to Seattle and took a rideshare straight from the airport. It was 2 p.m. when I walked through our front door. I heard them before I saw them. Laughter from the bedroom. Female laughter, high and bright, followed by Marcus's lower voice saying something I couldn't quite make out. Then more laughter. My first thought, absurdly, was that maybe Marcus had the TV on. Maybe he was watching something funny. He sometimes worked from home on Wednesdays. But the bedroom door was closed. And that laughter didn't sound like it was coming from a television. I stood in the hallway, my suitcase still in my hand, my heart starting to pound. Every instinct in my body was telling me not to open that door. That whatever was behind it would change everything. I opened it anyway. Marcus was in our bed, the one we'd picked out together at IKEA 3 years ago, with a woman I'd never seen before. They were under the covers, clearly naked, and they looked so comfortable, so at ease with each other that it was immediately obvious this wasn't the first time. For a moment, nobody moved. We all just stared at each other in frozen shock. The woman was young, maybe 28 or 29. Blonde, pretty in a generic sort of way. She pulled the sheet up to cover herself, her eyes wide. Marcus sat up, his face cycling rapidly through emotions. Shock, panic, guilt, and then, this is what I'll never forget, annoyance. He looked annoyed that I'd interrupted them. "Victoria," he said, "what are you doing home?" Not "I'm sorry." Not "I can explain." Not even a denial. Just, "What are you doing home?" As if I was the one who'd done something wrong by coming back to my own house. I looked at him, at this man I'd been married to for 6 years, and I felt something inside me go cold and hard. "Conference got cancelled," I said, and my voice sounded strange to my own ears. Calm. Detached. "Weather." The woman was scrambling for her clothes now, pulling a shirt over her head while trying to keep the sheet around her. "I'm so sorry," she said, and she actually sounded sincere. I mean, he said. "Get out," I said quietly. She didn't need to be told twice. She grabbed her jeans and shoes and practically ran out of the bedroom, not even fully dressed. I heard the front door slam a moment later. Marcus got out of bed and pulled on his boxer shorts. He didn't look at me while he did it. "How long?" I asked. He was quiet for a long time. Then, 3 years. 3 years. Half of our marriage. While I was working 60-hour weeks, traveling for work, building what I thought was our future, he'd been fucking someone else. "Her name is Amber," he continued, still not looking at me. "She works in the Portland office. It started when I got promoted. I processed this. Portland, the city he traveled to twice a month for client meetings. Are there others?" I asked. "No. Just her." I didn't believe him, but it almost didn't matter. One affair or 100, the result was the same. My marriage was over. "Why didn't you just leave?" I asked. "If you wanted to be with her, why stay married to me?" He finally looked at me then, and something in his expression made my blood run cold. "This house," he said simply. "The life we built. I wasn't ready to give it up yet. Not, I still love you. Not, I was confused. Not even, I made a mistake." He wasn't ready to give up the house, the comfortable life, the wife with a good job who paid half the bills and didn't ask too many questions. I stared at him, this stranger wearing my husband's face, and I realized something. Marcus didn't think he'd done anything particularly wrong. He thought he deserved to have everything. The wife, the mistress, the comfortable home. He thought he was entitled to it all. "Get out," I said. "Victoria, Let's talk about this. Get out. He must have heard something in my voice, because he didn't argue. He grabbed some clothes from the closet, threw them in a gym bag, and left. I stood in the bedroom doorway and listened to his car pull out of the driveway. Then I sat down on the floor, right there in the hallway, and I let myself feel it. The betrayal, the humiliation, the sheer, crushing weight of realizing that the last 6 years of my life had been built on lies. I cried for maybe 20 minutes. Deep, wrenching sobs that left me gasping for air. Then I stopped. I stood up, wiped my face, and I started thinking. Marcus called that evening. I didn't answer. He called again the next morning. I sent it to voicemail. He texted, "We need to talk about this. Please." I didn't respond. He texted again, "I'll come by tonight to get some more of my things. We can talk then." I texted back, "Don't. I'll pack your stuff. You can pick it up this weekend." I spent Thursday and Friday packing his belongings with methodical precision. Clothes, shoes, toiletries, books, his gaming console. Everything that was distinctly his went into boxes. I labeled them neatly and stacked them in the garage. While I packed, I thought about the last 6 years, about all the times Marcus had traveled to Portland, about how he'd always been so good about calling me, sending me photos, making me feel included even when he was away. Now I understood why. He was covering his tracks, making sure I never suspected. I thought about the house, about how Marcus had always insisted on paying the bills, including rent, about how he'd said we should wait to buy a place, build up savings. And I thought about Amber, young, blonde Amber who'd looked genuinely shocked when she realized I existed, who'd said he told me, before I cut her off. What had he told her? That he was single, that he was divorced, that his marriage was over. I needed to know. Friday evening, I did something I'm not proud of. I went through Marcus's laptop. He'd left it behind in his rush to leave, and I knew his password. It was the same one he'd used for years. I found what I was looking for in his email. Messages between Marcus and Amber going back 3 years, just like he'd said. At first, they were cautious, flirty. Then they escalated. Photos, videos, plans to meet up in Portland, in Seattle, in hotel rooms when I thought Marcus was at conferences. But the recent emails were what made my hands shake with rage. From 2 weeks ago, Marcus to Amber, "Almost there, babe. Just need to figure out the logistics." Amber to Marcus, "I can't wait to finally live together. I'm tired of hiding." Marcus to Amber, "I know. Soon. I promise." From 1 week ago, Marcus to Amber, "Found a place in Portland. 2BR, perfect for us. Can you start looking at furniture?" They were planning to move in together. In Portland, while he was still married to me, still living in our house, still splitting the rent with me. I kept reading. From 5 days ago, Marcus to Amber, "Told V about us today." Finally, she didn't take it well, but it's done. Except he hadn't told me. I discovered them. He was lying to Amber about how brave he'd been, how he'd finally confronted me. And then, from yesterday, an email that made everything click into place. Marcus to Amber, "It's done. Moving out this weekend. You can start packing your stuff. You'll love the house. 3 bedrooms, big backyard. Way better than my Portland apartment. The house. Our house." My brain went into overdrive. Marcus thought he was keeping the house. He thought he was moving Amber into the house I was living in. The house we rented. And suddenly, I saw exactly how to destroy him. Saturday morning, I called our landlord, Margaret Santos. "Hi, Margaret, it's Victoria Chen. I hope you're doing well." "Victoria, how lovely to hear from you. Is everything all right with the house?" "Actually, that's why I'm calling. Marcus and I are separating. I wanted to give you a heads up that I'll be moving out at the end of the lease term." There was a pause. "Oh, Victoria, I'm so sorry to hear that." "Thank you. I wanted to ask, when does our current lease expire?" "Let me check. Looks like it renews on April 1st. So you have 2 weeks left on the current term." "Perfect. Absolutely perfect. And if I choose not to renew, what happens?" "Well, if neither of you renews, the lease ends and you'd both need to vacate. If one of you wants to stay, they'd need to sign a new lease and go through the application process again. Credit check, income verification, all of that. And if someone just stopped paying rent," Margaret's voice became cautious, "then we'd begin eviction proceedings." "Why do you ask?" Just trying to understand my options. Thank you, Margaret. I hung up and smiled. Then I called my divorce attorney. I met with Sarah Winters on Monday morning. She was in her 50s, sharp-eyed and no-nonsense, with a reputation for being ruthless when she needed to be. I told her everything. The affair, the emails, Marcus's plan to move Amber into our house. He doesn't own the house, I said. We rent it. The lease is in both our names, and it expires in less than 2 weeks. I'm not renewing. Sarah's eyes lit up with understanding. You want to let him think he can stay. Exactly. I want him to move her in. I want them to get comfortable. And then I want reality to come crashing down. That's creative, Sarah said, but legally risky. If you're still on the lease, you're still liable for the rent. What if I give notice that I'm moving out and not renewing? Am I still liable then? If you give proper notice and you're not renewing the lease, no. But Marcus would still be on the hook. If he doesn't renew and doesn't pay, the landlord can pursue eviction. And what about our joint account? The one we use for shared expenses? Sarah's smile was sharp. As long as you're not hiding assets or violating any court orders, you can manage your own finances however you see fit. But once you file for divorce, I'd recommend closing joint accounts and establishing clear financial separation. I'm not filing yet, I said. Not for a few weeks. Why wait? Because I want him to be all the way in before I pull the rug out. Sarah studied me for a long moment. You're angry. I'm furious. Good. Anger can be useful. Just don't let it make you stupid. I won't. I promised. That afternoon, I called Marcus. Victoria, he answered immediately. Thank God. Can we please talk? Yes, I said. We should talk. Can I come over? No. Let's meet somewhere neutral. How about that coffee shop on 45th? Tomorrow at noon. Okay. Yes. Thank you for agreeing to talk. I hung up without responding. Tuesday at noon, I walked into Zoka Coffee and found Marcus already there, sitting at a corner table with 2 cups in front of him. He bought me a latte, oat milk, extra foam, the way I liked it. The thoughtfulness of it made me want to throw the cup in his face. Instead, I sat down calmly and took a sip. Thank you for meeting me, Marcus said. He looked terrible, dark circles under his eyes, his hair uncombed. Good. You said we need to talk, I said. So talk. He took a breath. I'm sorry. For everything. For how you found out. For not being honest with you sooner. Not sorry for the affair itself. Just sorry I found out. How long were you planning to keep lying to me? I asked. I don't know. I wasn't planning anything. It just happened. For 3 years. Yes. And you love her. He hesitated. Yes. I nodded slowly. So what do you want, Marcus? I want to handle this like adults. I want us to separate as amicably as possible. Divide our assets fairly. Maybe we can avoid a messy divorce. And the house. His expression shifted, became harder. I'd like to keep living there if possible. I know that might be difficult for you, but I've already started looking at apartments for you. There's a nice 1-bedroom in Fremont. You've been apartment hunting for me. I'm trying to make this easier. How generous of you. He had the grace to look uncomfortable. I know this is hard, but we can both move on and be happy. I just need some time to figure out the logistics. I sipped my latte and watched him. He thought he was negotiating. He thought he had leverage. Okay, I said finally. Okay. You can have the house. I'll move out. The relief on his face was almost comical. Really? Victoria, thank you. I really appreciate you being reasonable about this. I just have one condition. His expression turned wary. What? Give me until the end of March. That's 2 weeks. I need time to find a place, pack my things, arrange movers. Can you give me that? Of course. Absolutely. Take whatever time you need. And during that time, you stay somewhere else. I don't want you in the house while I'm packing. It's too painful. He nodded eagerly. I understand. I'm staying with a friend in Capitol Hill anyway. A friend. Sure. Probably Amber's apartment. Okay then, I said, standing up. I'll be out by April 1st. Victoria, he said as I turned to leave. I really am sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. I looked at him, really looked at him. This man I'd loved for 7 years, married for 6. This stranger who thought he could have everything and leave me with nothing. I know you are, I said. But you did hurt me. And now we both have to live with that. I walked out of the coffee shop and didn't look back. The next 2 weeks moved quickly. I told Margaret Santos that I wouldn't be renewing the lease. I gave my official 30-day notice in writing, as required. I moved out of the Wallingford house gradually, taking my personal belongings, clothes, books, my laptop, important documents. I rented a storage unit for my furniture and hired movers to take everything on March 30th. I found a new apartment in Capitol Hill, a beautiful one-bedroom with hardwood floors and a view of the Space Needle. I signed a lease that started April 1st. I stopped contributing to the joint account we'd used for shared expenses. I transferred my half of the current balance to my personal account and then removed myself as an account holder entirely. Marcus could keep whatever was left, about $2,000, but after that, he was on his own. I documented everything. I saved every email between Marcus and Amber that I'd found on his laptop. I printed out our lease agreement. I kept copies of all my notices to Margaret Santos. And I waited. Marcus texted me occasionally during those 2 weeks. How's the apartment hunting going? Found a great place. Moving in April 1st. Need any help with the move? No thanks. I've got it covered. Okay. Let me know if you change your mind. He was being so accommodating, so helpful. Because he thought he'd won. He thought he was getting exactly what he wanted. The house, the girlfriend, and a clean exit from his marriage. March 30th, the movers came. They loaded everything of mine into a truck, my furniture, my kitchen supplies, my art, everything that made that house feel like home. I did a final walkthrough, making sure I hadn't forgotten anything. The bedroom looked empty now, with just Marcus's furniture remaining. The living room was sparse. The kitchen had his dishes, his cookware. I stood in the empty house and I felt nothing. No nostalgia. No regret. Just cold, hard satisfaction. I left the keys on the kitchen counter with a note. Marcus, house is all yours. I've removed myself from the lease and given notice to Margaret that I won't be renewing. If you want to stay, you'll need to sign a new lease with her directly. Good luck. V. Then I walked out and locked the door behind me. March 31st, I moved into my new apartment in Capitol Hill. I unpacked, arranged my furniture, hung my art. By evening, the place felt like mine. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat on my balcony, looking out at the city lights. My phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. Just saw your note. What do you mean you're not renewing the lease? I smiled and typed back, exactly what it sounds like. I gave Margaret 30 days notice. The lease expires tomorrow. But I thought we agreed I could keep the house. No. You assumed you could keep the house. I never agreed to anything. Victoria, this isn't funny. I can't just leave. I have nowhere to go. You should have thought of that before you fucked another woman in our bed. I'll call Margaret. I'll sign a new lease. Good luck with that. He tried calling. I didn't answer. He texted again. What did you do? Nothing. I just stopped paying for a house I don't live in anymore. You're welcome to take over the lease if you can afford $3,800 a month on your own. There was a long pause. Then you bitch. Yes, I replied. Yes, I am. I blocked his number and poured myself another glass of wine. April 1st arrived with the kind of crisp spring morning that makes Seattle residents forget about 9 months of gray drizzle. I woke up in my new apartment, made coffee in my sunny kitchen, and checked my phone. 17 missed calls from Marcus. 12 text messages, progressively more desperate. Victoria, please answer. We need to talk about this. You can't just leave me like this. I talked to Margaret. She says I need to reapply for the lease. She wants pay stubs and a credit check. The rent is $3,800. I can't afford that on my own. Call me. I deleted all of them and blocked his number from a different app he might try. Then I called Sarah Winters, my attorney. Good morning, Victoria. How's the new place? Beautiful. And I'm ready to file. Divorce papers? Yes. I want to do this now. I'll have them drawn up today. We can file by end of week. Perfect. And Sarah, I want everything documented. The affair, the emails, the financial situation. I want it all on the record. Consider it done. I hung up and got ready for work. I had a 9 a.m. meeting with my team, and I refused to let Marcus's implosion affect my career. But even as I applied my makeup and chose my outfit, I couldn't help smiling. Because I knew exactly what was happening across town. What I didn't know, but would learn later from Margaret Santos, was that April 1st was absolute chaos at the Wallingford house. Marcus had called Margaret at 8 a.m. frantic. I need to sign a new lease. Today. Mr. Chen, as I explained to your wife, if you want to remain in the property, you'll need to complete a new application. That includes a credit check, income verification, rental history. I've been living here for 6 years. Yes, but under a joint lease with Mrs. Chen. She's given notice and removed herself. If you want to stay, you're applying as a single tenant. Fine. Send me the application. Margaret emailed him the forms. Standard rental application, nothing unusual. But here's what Marcus discovered when he started filling them out. The rent was $3,800 per month. His salary was $160,000 per year, which sounds substantial until you calculate monthly take-home after taxes, insurance, and his 401k contribution. He was netting about $8,500 per month. Most landlords want your monthly rent to be no more than 30% of your gross income. For $3,800 rent, you needed to make at least $152,000, which Marcus technically did. But Margaret, being a thorough landlord, also ran a credit check. And that's where things got interesting. Marcus's credit score was 620, barely above subprime. Because what I hadn't known, what Marcus had hidden from me for years, was that he had significant debt. Credit card debt, specifically. About $45,000 spread across 6 different cards, most of them maxed out or close to it. Turns out maintaining a secret girlfriend for 3 years is expensive. Hotel rooms, dinners, gifts, trips, all charged to credit cards I never saw because we kept our finances mostly separate. Margaret called him that afternoon. Mr. Chen, I've reviewed your application. I'm afraid I can't approve you for the lease. What? Why not? Your credit score is below our minimum threshold of 680, and your debt-to-income ratio is concerning. I'm sorry, but I can't take the risk. But I've been paying rent here for 6 years. You and Mrs. Chen together have been paying rent. Her income and credit were carrying the application. Alone, you don't qualify. This is discrimination. No, Mr. Chen. This is business. I'm sorry, but you'll need to vacate the property. Since neither of you renewed the lease, it expired today. I'm giving you until April 15th to remove your belongings as a courtesy. After that, anything remaining will be considered abandoned. Marcus tried to argue, but Margaret was unmovable. She'd been a landlord for 20 years. She'd seen every excuse, every manipulation, every desperate plea. Marcus's situation wasn't unique. It was just unfortunate. For him. I learned all of this on April 3rd, when Margaret called me. Victoria, I wanted to let you know that Marcus applied for a new lease and was rejected. Oh. I tried to sound surprised. Yes. Credit issues and debt-to-income ratio problems. I've given him until the 15th to move out. I wanted to make sure you knew, since technically you're still married and this could affect you. I appreciate you telling me. For the record, I've hired a divorce attorney and we're filing papers this week. I have no financial entanglement with his debts. We kept our finances separate. Smart woman. I'm sorry about your marriage, Victoria. You were always wonderful tenants. Thank you, Margaret. And thank you for being so professional about this whole situation. After we hung up, I sat at my desk and let the satisfaction wash over me. Marcus had been rejected. He had until April 15th to move out. 2 weeks of watching his perfect plan crumble. But the best part, I knew he'd already told Amber she could move in. I found out about Amber's arrival through an unexpected source. Jenna Morrison, Marcus's now next-door neighbor. Jenna and I had been friendly over the years. We'd water each other's plants, accept packages, occasionally share a bottle of wine on her back porch. She was a nurse at Swedish Medical Center, divorced, in her early 40s, with a dry sense of humor and zero tolerance for bullshit. She texted me on April 4th. Is there a blonde woman moving into your house? I called her immediately. Jenna, hi. What's going on? Victoria. God, I was hoping to hear from you. I saw the moving truck, and I thought maybe you and Marcus were moving, but then I only saw him and this young blonde woman directing the movers. Is everything okay? I took a breath. Marcus and I are separating. Actually, we're divorcing. I moved out last week. Oh, honey. I'm so sorry. Don't be. He was cheating on me with the blonde woman. Her name is Amber. There was a long silence. Then, that motherfucker. Yeah. So he's moving her into the house? Just like that? Apparently. But Jenna, there's something you should know. I didn't renew the lease. The lease expired on April 1st. Marcus applied for a new lease on his own and was rejected. Margaret gave him until April 15th to vacate. Jenna's laugh was sharp and delighted. So that little homewrecker is moving into a house they're about to be evicted from? Looks that way. Oh, this is beautiful. This is absolutely beautiful. Victoria, you're my hero. I haven't done anything. I just stopped paying for a house I don't live in. Semantics. Listen, I'm going to keep an eye on the situation and keep you updated. This is better than any reality TV show. I appreciate that. But Jenna, be careful. I don't want you getting involved in any drama. Please. I'm a nurse. I've dealt with way worse than a cheating husband and his side piece. Over the next few days, Jenna sent me updates. April 4th, 3 p.m., moving truck just left. She's brought a lot of furniture. Like a lot. Where are they going to put it all? April 5th, 10 a.m., she's planting flowers in the front yard. Actually planting flowers. Should I tell her? April 5th, 6 p.m., they're grilling in the backyard. Having a little celebration, looks like. This is painful to watch. April 6th, 8 a.m., she just left for work in scrubs. Is she a nurse? Vet tech maybe. Please tell me she's not a nurse. I can't have this woman in my profession. April 6th, 9 p.m., huge fight. Heard yelling. She was screaming. You said we'd have 2 years. He was trying to calm her down. Fascinating. That last text made me pause. 2 years. What had Marcus promised her? I opened my laptop and went back through the emails I'd saved from Marcus's computer. I searched for 2 years and found it. From January, Marcus to Amber, once we're in the house, we'll have at least 2 years of stability. V won't cause problems. She's too focused on her career. We can save up, plan our next move, maybe even get married. He'd promised her 2 years in the house. He told her I wouldn't cause problems. He'd underestimated me completely. April 10th, I got a call from an unknown number. I normally wouldn't answer, but something made me pick up. Victoria Chen. Victoria, it's Marcus. Please don't hang up. I should have, but curiosity got the better of me. What do you want, Marcus? I need your help. I almost laughed. You need my help. Please. Just listen. Margaret won't rent to me because of my credit score. But if we were both on the lease, if we apply together. Are you seriously asking me to help you keep a house so you can live there with your mistress? Victoria, be reasonable. No. You be reasonable. You cheated on me for 3 years. You planned to kick me out of my own home. You lied to me, to Amber, probably to everyone. And now you want me to bail you out. I made a mistake. You made 1,000 mistakes. And now you get to live with the consequences. I can't afford to move again. I already paid deposits on this place, moving costs. Not my problem. Victoria, Amber's already moved in. She gave up her apartment in Portland. If we lose this house, we'll have nowhere to go. Then maybe you should have thought of that before you fucked her in my bed. I hung up. He tried calling back. I blocked the number, but his desperation gave me an idea. I called Sarah Winters. Sarah, Marcus called me, asking for help with the house situation. Jesus, that man has balls. I want to accelerate everything. Can we file the divorce papers today? Already done. I filed them yesterday. He should be served within 48 hours. Good. And I want to make sure everything is documented. The affair, the emails, the financial situation. It's all in the filing. Victoria, I have to ask, what's your endgame here? Beyond the divorce. I thought about it. I want him to lose everything he thought he was getting. The house, the comfortable life, the idea that he could have it all without consequences. I want him to understand exactly what he threw away. Revenge is expensive. I'm not doing this for revenge. I'm doing this for justice. Sarah was quiet for a moment. All right, but be careful. Angry spouses make mistakes. I'm not angry anymore, I said. And it was true. The initial rage had burned itself out, leaving something colder and more focused. I'm just done. April 12th. Marcus was served divorce papers at work. I knew this because his colleague, David Park, happened to be a friend of my friend Rachel. David texted Rachel. Rachel texted me. Heard Marcus got served at the office today. Process server showed up at 2 p.m. Very public. Everyone saw. Marcus apparently went white and locked himself in his office for the rest of the day. Good. I wanted it to be public. I wanted everyone at his company to know. That evening, Jenna texted me, major fight next door. She's screaming about divorce papers. You said she was okay with this. Oh, this is good. So Amber hadn't known about the divorce filing. Marcus had probably told her we were working it out amicably, or some such bullshit. My phone rang. Unknown number again. This time, I let it go to voicemail. It was a woman's voice. Young, shaky with tears. Victoria, this is Amber Collins. I know you don't want to talk to me, but please, just listen. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know you two weren't actually separated. Marcus told me you'd filed for divorce months ago. He said you were just living in the house until you found your own place. He said you knew about me and you were okay with it because you'd moved on too. I would never. I'm not a homewrecker. I'm not that person. Please, if you could just call me back. I deleted the voicemail. But it nagged at me. The genuine distress in her voice. The possibility that Amber had been lied to as extensively as I had. I called Jenna. Tell me about Amber. What do you see? Honestly, she seems young and kind of naive. She's always friendly when I see her, waves hello. She planted those flowers like she thought she was really making a home there. I almost feel bad for her. Almost. She's still fucking your husband, Victoria. Soon-to-be ex-husband. Fair point. But yeah, I don't think she's evil. I think she's an idiot who believed a liar. I thought about the emails I'd read. In all of them, Marcus was the one leading. Amber asked questions, expressed concerns, but ultimately trusted what Marcus told her. She was a victim too. Not in the same way I was. She'd made her own choices. But Marcus had lied to her just as thoroughly as he'd lied to me. It didn't make me forgive her. But it made me understand something important. Marcus was the architect of all of this. He'd manipulated both of us. April 13th, Margaret Santos called me again. Victoria, I wanted to give you a heads up. I'm beginning formal eviction proceedings tomorrow. Marcus hasn't vacated, and tomorrow is my deadline. What does that involve? I'll post a 3-day notice to vacate. If he doesn't leave within 3 days, I file with the court for formal eviction. Given that his lease has expired and he never signed a new one, this should be straightforward. And the woman living with him? He's not on any lease, so she has no legal right to be there. She'll have to leave when he does. Thank you for keeping me informed, Margaret. Of course. And Victoria, I'm sorry you're going through this. But I have to say, the way you've handled it has been impressively professional. After we hung up, I felt a surge of satisfaction. 3 more days, then the notice, then the formal eviction process. Everything was proceeding exactly as I'd hoped. April 14th, I woke up to 12 text messages from a number I didn't recognize. I opened them cautiously. This is Amber. I got your number from Marcus's phone. Please read this. I know you hate me. I understand why. But I need you to know the truth about what Marcus told me. He said you two had been separated for a year. He said you were seeing someone else. He said you were happy and had moved on. He told me you knew about me and you didn't care. He said you both agreed to stay in the house until you found your own places, just for financial reasons. When I moved in, I thought I was moving into his house. He said he bought it before you got married, and it was always his. He said you were just staying there temporarily. I didn't know you two were still married. I didn't know he was lying about everything. I'm not asking you to forgive me, but I needed you to know that I was lied to too. And now I'm finding out the house isn't even his. We're being evicted. I gave up my apartment for this. I spent $4,000 on moving costs. I'm so stupid. I believed everything he said. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I read the messages twice. Then I did something I hadn't planned on doing. I called her. She answered on the first ring. Victoria! Yes. Thank you for calling me back. I didn't think you would. Her voice was young, raw with crying. I'd imagined her as some confident seductress, but she sounded like a scared kid. What do you want, Amber? I don't know. I needed you to know that I was lied to. That I'm not some evil person who goes after married men. I thought, God, I'm so stupid. I thought he was separated. I thought you were okay with it. He told you a lot of things that weren't true. I know that now. But for 3 years, I believed him. Every time I asked if his wife knew, he said yes. Every time I worried we were doing something wrong, he convinced me it was fine. I was quiet for a moment. How old are you, Amber? 29. 29. I was 38. Marcus was 41. The age gap made the power dynamic even clearer. Did you know about his debts? I asked. What debts? Credit card debt. About $45,000. She was silent. Then, no. He told me he was financially stable. He said he was saving for us to buy a house together. Did you give him money? Another pause. Yes. About $15,000 over the past year. He said it was for deposits and furniture and things for the house. Our house. Jesus. Marcus had been bleeding her dry too. Amber, I'm going to tell you something, and I need you to listen carefully. Marcus is a liar. He lied to me for 6 years. He lied to you for 3. He's probably lying to you right now about how he's going to fix the situation. He says we can find another place. Can he afford another place? Do you know what his credit score is? No. 620. Do you know how much debt he has? Do you know that the reason we're losing the house is because the landlord rejected his application? He said it was because you poisoned the landlord against him. I did no such thing. Margaret Santos rejected him based on his credit report and debt-to-income ratio. You can call her yourself if you don't believe me. Amber was crying now. He told me you were vindictive, that you were trying to destroy him. I'm not destroying him, Amber. He destroyed himself. I'm just not paying to clean up his mess anymore. I don't know what to do. I gave up my apartment. I don't have anywhere to go. And here's where I surprised myself. Do you have family in Portland? Yes. My parents. Call them. Tell them you need help. Move back home. Get your footing. And then figure out your next steps. But Amber, you need to leave Marcus. Today. Right now. Because he will drag you down with him. But he needs me. He doesn't need you. He needs your money and your blind faith. That's not the same thing. She was quiet for a long time. Then, did he ever love me? The question broke something in me. Because I'd been asking myself the same thing. Did Marcus ever love me? I don't know. I said honestly. I don't know if Marcus is capable of loving anyone more than he loves himself. I'm so sorry, she whispered. For everything. You didn't deserve this. No, I didn't. And neither did you. I hung up before she could respond. April 15th, Margaret posted the 3-day notice to vacate on the front door of the Wallingford house. Jenna sent me a photo. Big orange notice. Very official looking. Marcus came home at lunch, saw it, and punched the door frame. Actually punched it, then sat on the front steps with his head in his hands for like 20 minutes. I looked at the photo for a long time. Part of me felt vindicated. Part of me felt nothing at all. That evening, Jenna texted again. Amber just left with suitcases. A lot of them. She was crying. Marcus tried to stop her, but she got in her car and drove away. He's still standing in the driveway looking lost. So Amber had taken my advice. Good for her. I poured myself a glass of wine and called Sarah Winters. Sarah, I need to know, once the eviction is finalized, what happens to Marcus's belongings if he doesn't remove them? The landlord can dispose of them. Usually they hire a removal company, store items for 30 days, then if they're not claimed, they auction or trash them. And if he does remove them but has nowhere to put them, storage unit, friends' houses, his car. Not our problem. Good. Victoria, how are you doing? Really? I thought about it. I'm okay. Better than okay, actually. I feel clear-headed. Focused. Good. Because we have a hearing date for the divorce. May 20th. Think you'll be ready? Absolutely. April 18th. The formal eviction was filed with the court. Marcus had until April 30th to vacate voluntarily, or the sheriff would enforce the eviction on May 1st. Jenna's reports continued. April 19th, moving truck outside. Marcus is loading furniture. He looks like shit. April 21st, house is half empty now. He's taking multiple trips. I think he's putting things in storage. April 25th, Marcus knocked on my door asking if I knew where Amber went. I told him I didn't. He asked if I'd seen Victoria. I said no. He looks defeated. April 28th, house is completely empty now. He's been taking stuff out all week. Margaret did a walkthrough today. April 30th, Marcus just left for the last time. Put his keys in the mailbox. Sat in his car for like 30 minutes before driving away. It's over. It's over. I sat with those words for a long time. May 1st, I did something I hadn't done in weeks. I drove to Wallingford. I parked across the street from the house Marcus and I had lived in for 6 years. The house where I'd thought I was building a life. The house where everything had fallen apart. It looked the same from the outside. Same cream-colored craftsman exterior, same cherry tree in the front yard, now in full bloom. The flowers Amber had planted were still there, bright and cheerful. But the house was empty. No cars in the driveway. No lights in the windows. No life inside. I sat there for 20 minutes, just looking. I felt nothing. No nostalgia, no regret, no anger. Just this quiet sense of completion. My phone buzzed. Text from Sarah. Divorce hearing is confirmed for May 20th. Marcus's attorney filed a response. He's contesting the asset division. Of course he was. Even now, even after losing everything, Marcus thought he deserved something from me. I texted back, what's he contesting? He wants half your retirement account. Says it was marital property. I laughed out loud. Marcus had maybe $30,000 in his 401k. I had $180,000 in mine, built up over 15 years of steady saving and company matching. He wanted half of it. Let him try, I texted back. We had separate accounts. He can prove contribution. That's what I figured. See you at the hearing. I took one last look at the house, then drove away. May 20th arrived bright and clear. I wore a navy suit and pearl earrings. Professional, composed, unshakable. The hearing was in King County Family Court. Sarah met me outside the courtroom. Ready. Ready. Marcus was already inside with his attorney, a rumpled-looking man in his 50s named Bob Hernandez. Marcus looked terrible. He'd lost weight, his suit didn't fit right, and he had the hunted look of someone who hadn't slept well in weeks. Good. The judge was a woman in her 60s, named Patricia Kim. She looked over our filings with a critical eye, then addressed both attorneys. This should be straightforward. No children, no shared property. What's the dispute? Bob Hernandez stood. Your Honor, my client is seeking equitable division of marital assets, specifically Mrs. Chen's retirement account. Judge Kim looked at me. Mrs. Chen, is your retirement account in your name only? Yes, Your Honor. I've been contributing to it for 15 years, since before I met Mr. Chen. We maintained separate finances throughout our marriage. Did Mr. Chen contribute to your retirement account at any point? No, Your Honor. Did you contribute to his? No, Your Honor. Judge Kim looked at Marcus's attorney. Mr. Hernandez, on what grounds are you claiming your client deserves half of a retirement account he never contributed to? It's marital property, Your Honor. It's separate property. Mrs. Chen established it before the marriage and maintained it independently. Unless you can show concrete contributions from your client, there's no basis for division. Bob Hernandez tried to argue, but Judge Kim shut him down quickly. Let's move on. What about debts? Sarah stood. Your Honor, Mr. Chen has approximately $45,000 in credit card debt that Mrs. Chen was unaware of. She's seeking confirmation that this is a separate debt, for which she bears no responsibility. Mr. Hernandez? Your Honor, some of those expenses were for the benefit of the marriage. Can you provide documentation of that? Marcus's attorney shuffled through papers. Well, not specifically, but then the debt is Mr. Chen's responsibility. Mrs. Chen is not liable for debts she didn't incur or authorize. I felt Sarah squeeze my hand under the table. Judge Kim continued. Now, let's address the reason for this divorce. Mrs. Chen has filed on grounds of adultery. Mr. Chen, do you contest this? Marcus stood. Your Honor, I made mistakes. That's not what I asked. Did you engage in an extramarital affair? Marcus's face went red. Yes, Your Honor. For how long? 3 years, Your Honor. Judge Kim's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes hardened. 3 years. And during this time, you were sharing a household with Mrs. Chen, sharing expenses, presenting yourself as a faithful spouse. Yes, Your Honor. Thank you for your honesty. You may sit down. She reviewed the papers for another moment, then looked up. This divorce is granted. Division of assets is as follows. Each party retains their separate bank accounts, retirement accounts, and personal property. Shared property has already been divided. Mr. Chen's debt is his sole responsibility. Mrs. Chen is awarded her maiden name if she chooses to reclaim it. No spousal support will be awarded to either party. This marriage is dissolved as of today. She banged her gavel. It was over. 6 years of marriage ended in 20 minutes. Outside the courtroom, Sarah hugged me. You did great in there. Clean. Simple. Exactly what we wanted. Thank you for everything, Sarah. My pleasure. Go live your life, Victoria. You've earned it. I walked out of the courthouse into the bright May sunshine. I felt lighter somehow, like I'd been carrying a weight I hadn't realized was there. My phone buzzed. Text from Jenna. Heard you got your divorce finalized. Congratulations. Drinks tonight? I smiled and texted back. Absolutely. 7 p.m. Then I got another text from an unknown number. Victoria, it's Marcus. Can we talk? I stared at it for a long moment. Then I blocked the number and walked to my car. I had a life to rebuild, and Marcus Chen was no longer part of it. The weeks following my divorce felt surreal. I'd wake up in my Capitol Hill apartment, look around at the space that was entirely mine, and feel this odd mixture of freedom and disorientation. 6 years of marriage ended. Just like that. But life doesn't stop for heartbreak, or divorce, or betrayal. Life keeps moving forward, dragging you with it whether you're ready or not. I threw myself into work with renewed focus. My boss, Patricia Kim, no relation to the judge who'd finalized my divorce, had been understanding during the worst of it, but now I was back full force. I had a major product launch coming up in July, a rebranding initiative that would affect our entire pharmaceutical line. The budget was $4 million. The stakes were high. I loved it. I loved the pressure, the complexity, the way I could lose myself in strategy meetings and market analysis and forget, for hours at a time, that my personal life had imploded. My team noticed the change in me. During our weekly meeting in early June, my colleague David, different David from Marcus's office, pulled me aside. You seem different, he said. More. I don't know. Focused. Intense. Is that a bad thing? Hell no. Whatever you're channeling, keep channeling it. That presentation you gave yesterday was brilliant. I smiled. Divorce apparently agrees with me. He laughed, but there was truth in what I'd said. Without the weight of a failing marriage, without the constant low-level anxiety of living with someone who was lying to me every day, I felt sharper, clearer, more myself than I'd been in years. June brought unexpected developments. The first came from Jenna, who texted me on a Tuesday afternoon. You'll never guess who just moved into your old house. Who? Young couple. Late 20s. She's pregnant. They seem really sweet. Saw them planting vegetables in the backyard. I felt a strange pang at that. The house moving on without me, without Marcus. New life taking root where our marriage had died. But it was a good pang, if that makes sense. Like closure. That's nice, I texted back. They'll love that cherry tree in the spring. Already do. Heard her telling her husband it's her favorite thing about the place. I smiled at that. The cherry tree would bloom for them the way it had bloomed for me, and they would never know the history of the house, the drama that had unfolded there. They would just make their own memories, their own life. Good. That's how it should be. The second development came from an unexpected source, Amber. She called me from an unknown number in mid-June. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Victoria, it's Amber. Please don't hang up. What do you want, Amber? I wanted to thank you for telling me to leave. You were right. About everything. I was quiet, waiting. I moved back to Portland, she continued. I'm living with my parents for now. I got a job at a veterinary clinic. I'm a vet tech, by the way. Starting over. Good for you. I blocked Marcus. Changed my number. I'm in therapy now, working through everything. That's smart. My therapist says I was in a psychologically abusive relationship. That Marcus was a narcissist who used love bombing and manipulation to control me. I thought about that. Love bombing. Was that what Marcus had done to me too? The intense courtship, the perfect proposal, the way he'd made me feel like I was the only woman in the world? Your therapist is probably right, I said. I'm sorry, Amber said, and her voice cracked. I know I've said it before, but I need you to know. I'm sorry for my part in this. I should have asked more questions. I should have insisted on meeting you, talking to you directly. I should have trusted my instincts when things fell off. Yes, I said. You should have. But Marcus was the one who lied to both of us. He's the one who orchestrated all of this. I know. But I still made choices. Bad choices. You did. And now you're dealing with the consequences. That's how it works. Are you okay? She asked. I know that's a weird question, but are you doing okay? I thought about it. Was I okay? Yes, I said, and I was surprised to realize it was true. I'm better than okay. I'm good. I'm glad. You deserve better than what he did to you. So did you. We were both quiet for a moment. I should go, Amber said. I just wanted you to know that I'm trying to do better. Be better. Good luck, Amber. You too, Victoria. After we hung up, I sat with the conversation for a while. I didn't forgive Amber. I wasn't sure I ever would, but I understood her better now. She'd been 26 when she met Marcus, young and naive and easy to manipulate. He'd seen that vulnerability and exploited it. It didn't excuse her choices, but it explained them. June turned into July, and with it came the product launch I'd been working on. 3 days of presentations, client meetings, and press events. I was in my element, commanding rooms full of executives and journalists, explaining our rebranding strategy with the kind of confidence that comes from actually knowing what you're talking about. The launch was a massive success. Orders exceeded projections by 40%. My boss called me into her office the day after the final event. Victoria, that was exceptional work. The board is thrilled. I'm thrilled. Thank you, Patricia. I want to talk to you about your future here. We're creating a new position, VP of Strategic Marketing. I want you to take it. VP. A title I've been chasing for 5 years. What's the salary? I asked, keeping my voice professional, even though my heart was racing. $240,000 base, plus bonus structure that could take you to $300,000. I tried not to let my shock show. That was more than Marcus had ever made. More than I dreamed of making at the stage in my career. I'm interested, I said calmly. Good. HR will send you the official offer this week. But Victoria, I want you to know you've earned this. Your work has always been excellent, but these past few months, you've been operating at a different level. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. After I left her office, I went to the bathroom and let myself have a moment. I looked at myself in the mirror, professional suit, hair pulled back, minimal makeup, and I barely recognized the woman staring back. She looked powerful, successful, completely in control. She looked nothing like the woman who'd walked in on her husband with another woman 4 months ago. She looked better. I accepted the VP position and started my new role in August. Bigger office, bigger budget, bigger responsibilities. I loved every minute of it. But even as I was building my career, Marcus's life was falling apart in spectacular fashion. I learned this through a network of people who, for various reasons, felt I should know what was happening to my ex-husband. Some of it came from Jenna, who still had connections in our old neighborhood. Some came from Rachel, whose friend David still worked at Marcus's company. Some came from unexpected sources, mutual acquaintances who'd heard things and thought I'd want to know. I didn't ask for these updates, but I didn't stop them either. Here's what I learned. In June, Marcus had been fired from his VP of sales position. The official reason was performance issues, but David told Rachel the real story. Marcus's gambling debts had caught up with him. One of the people he owed money to had called his office, making threats. HR got involved. They discovered Marcus had been using company travel funds to cover personal expenses, hotel rooms for meetups with Amber, dinners, gifts. It wasn't technically embezzlement since he'd paid it all back, but it was enough to justify termination. Without his $160,000 salary, Marcus's financial situation went from bad to catastrophic. He couldn't pay his credit card minimums. The debt ballooned with interest and late fees. Collection agencies started calling. His car got repossessed in July, a 2021 BMW 5 Series that he'd been leasing, or more accurately, failing to make payments on. He moved into a studio apartment in Renton, one of the cheaper Seattle suburbs. $1,200 a month, which was all he could afford on unemployment benefits. He tried to find another sales job, but his industry is small and word travels fast. Performance issues is code for, we can't say why we fired him, but nobody should hire him. He applied to dozens of companies. He got 3 interviews. No offers. By August, he was working at a T-Mobile store in South Center Mall, making $40,000 a year plus commission. A massive step down from his VP position. I learned all of this and I felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not pity, not vindication. Just this odd detachment, like hearing about a stranger's misfortune. Marcus had done this to himself. Every bad decision, every lie, every moment of choosing short-term pleasure over long-term stability, it had all led here. To a studio apartment in Renton and a retail job at the mall. The house of cards had collapsed completely. In September, I did something I hadn't done in months. I went on a date. His name was James Park, and I'd met him at a pharmaceutical industry conference in Vancouver. He was a consultant, 42 years old, divorced with a teenage daughter. We talked for 2 hours over drinks at the hotel bar, and when he asked for my number, I'd surprised myself by giving it to him. We met for dinner at a Thai restaurant in Fremont. I was nervous. First date after divorce, first date in nearly 8 years. What if I'd forgotten how to do this? But James was easy to talk to. He asked about my work and actually listened to the answers. He told funny stories about his disaster of a first marriage. His ex-wife had left him for her Pilates instructor and didn't seem bitter about it. I'm better off, he said with a shrug. We wanted different things. She wanted to be married to someone rich and exciting. I wanted to be married to someone who actually liked me. I laughed. That seems like a reasonable request. You'd think so, but apparently it was asking too much. We talked about work, about Seattle, about the places we traveled and the places we wanted to go. He'd spent 2 years working in Singapore and had stories about the food scene that made me hungry just listening. At the end of the night, he walked me to my car. I'd like to see you again, he said. If you're interested. I'm interested, I replied. He kissed me, just a quick, soft press of lips, and then stepped back with a smile. Good night, Victoria. I drove home feeling lighter than I had in months, maybe even years. James and I saw each other regularly over the next few weeks. Dinners, hiking trips, a concert at the Paramount. He was easy to be with, uncomplicated in a way I hadn't realized I needed. One evening in late September, we were having dinner at his apartment in Queen, and when he asked the question I'd been expecting, "What happened with your ex-husband?" I told him I was divorced, but not the details. Now, sitting on his couch with a glass of wine, I found myself telling him everything. The affair, the house, the eviction, the divorce. James listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. That's brutal, he finally said. I'm sorry you went through that. I'm not, I said, surprising myself. I mean, I'm sorry it happened, but I'm not sorry about how I handled it. I'm not sorry about where I ended up. Because you're stronger now? Because I'm more myself now. Does that make sense? He nodded. Perfect sense. My divorce taught me that sometimes losing someone is actually finding yourself. We talked late into the night about marriages and mistakes and second chances. About how sometimes the worst thing that happens to you becomes the catalyst for the best thing. I went home that night feeling grateful. Not for what Marcus had done. I would never be grateful for that. But grateful that I'd survived it. Grateful that I'd come out the other side intact. More than intact. Thriving. October brought an unexpected visitor to my office. I was in a meeting when my assistant, Monica, knocked on the door. Victoria, I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's someone here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment, but he says it's urgent. Who is it? She looked uncomfortable. Marcus Chen, your ex-husband. Every head in the meeting turned toward me. I kept my expression neutral. Tell him I'm busy. He can email me if he needs something. He says he'll wait. I excused myself from the meeting and went to the reception area. Marcus was sitting in one of the chairs, wearing khakis and a T-Mobile polo shirt. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, weight loss that made his clothes hang wrong, a defeated slump to his shoulders. "What are you doing here, Marcus?" He stood up quickly. "Victoria, thank you for seeing me. I didn't agree to see you. I'm asking what you're doing here. I need to talk to you. Please, just 5 minutes." I looked at him, really looked at him, and I felt nothing. No anger, no pain, no residual affection. He was just a man who used to be my husband, a stranger wearing a familiar face. Fine. 5 minutes. Conference room. I led him to one of the small conference rooms and closed the door. We sat on opposite sides of the table. "What do you want, Marcus?" "I need help." Of course he did. "With what?" "Money. I'm drowning, Victoria. The credit card companies are threatening to sue. I can't afford my apartment. I'm working retail, and it's not enough to cover my expenses. That's not my problem. Please. I know I don't deserve your help, but I'm desperate. If you could just loan me." "No. Victoria." "No. I'm not loaning you money. I'm not giving you money. I'm not helping you with your debts that you accumulated while you were cheating on me. I made mistakes. You made choices, and now you're living with the consequences. That's how this works. I lost everything," he said, and his voice cracked. "My job, my car, my home. I'm living in a studio apartment in Renton. I'm working at a mall. Everything I built is gone. You didn't build anything, Marcus. You borrowed money you couldn't afford to pay back to support a lifestyle you couldn't maintain while you lied to everyone in your life. That's not building. That's a con. And eventually, cons fall apart. I know. I know that now. But I'm trying to get back on my feet, and I need help. Then ask your family. Ask your friends. Ask Amber. Amber won't talk to me. She blocked me. And my family, they're ashamed of me. My mother won't even take my calls. Good for his mother. Again, not my problem. Please, Victoria. I'm begging you." And there it was. The man who thought he could have everything, begging his ex-wife for money in her office conference room. I looked at him across that table, and I felt something finally. Not pity, not anger. Just this crystalline clarity about who he was, and who I was, and how we'd gotten here. "No," I said simply. "I'm not helping you. You made your choices, Marcus. You chose to cheat on me for 3 years. You chose to lie to me, to Amber, to everyone. You chose to rack up massive debts to support your affair. You chose to move your mistress into a house you couldn't afford to keep. And now you're choosing to come here and ask me, the woman you betrayed, to bail you out. I'm making my choice too. And my choice is no." I stood up. "Your 5 minutes are up. Don't come to my office again. Don't call me. Don't contact me. We have nothing more to say to each other. Victoria, we're done, Marcus. We were done the moment you poured whatever was in that vial into your mistress instead of into your marriage." I walked out of the conference room and didn't look back. Monica was at her desk, eyes wide. She'd obviously heard some of that through the closed door. "Should I call security?" she asked. "No. He's leaving." I went back to my office and closed the door. My hands were shaking. Not with fear or sadness, but with adrenaline. I'd done it. I'd faced Marcus one last time and I'd held firm. No weakness, no wavering, no moment of guilt-induced generosity. Just no. 5 minutes later, Monica knocked softly. "He's gone." "Thank you, Monica." I sat at my desk and looked out the window at the Seattle skyline. The afternoon sun was painting the buildings gold, and Lake Union sparkled in the distance. I'd won. Not because I'd destroyed Marcus. He destroyed himself. But because I'd survived his destruction attempt. Because I'd refused to let him drag me down with him. I pulled out my phone and texted James, "Dinner tonight? My place. I'll cook." He responded immediately, "Perfect." "Can't wait." I smiled and got back to work. November brought Thanksgiving, and with it, a family dinner at my parents' house in Bellevue. My younger brother, Eric, was there with his wife and their 2 kids. My older sister, Michelle, flew in from San Francisco with her husband. The house was warm and loud and full of the kind of chaotic love that comes from big family gatherings. My mother pulled me aside while we were setting the table. "You look good, Victoria." "Happy." "I am happy, Mom." I was so worried about you. After the divorce. But you've done well. Your father and I are proud of you. Coming from my traditional Taiwanese parents, this was high praise. For years, they've been disappointed that I prioritized career over marriage and children. But now, in the aftermath of my failed marriage, they could see that my career had saved me. That my independence and financial stability had given me options Marcus could never take away. Thank you, Mom. Are you seeing someone? I smiled. Maybe. Her eyes lit up. Tell me about him. His name is James. He's a consultant. Divorced, 1 daughter. He's kind and smart, and he makes me laugh. Bring him to Christmas dinner. Mom, it's only been a few months. Bring him. I want to meet the man who makes my daughter smile like that. December arrived with that particular kind of cold that Seattle gets in winter. Not bitter, but damp and penetrating, the kind that gets into your bones. I was in my office on a Tuesday afternoon when I got a call from Sarah Winters, my divorce attorney. Victoria, I have news. Marcus filed for bankruptcy. Bankruptcy. Chapter 7. Full liquidation. He's declaring all his credit card debts, medical bills, even some old student loans. He's basically wiping the slate clean. Can he do that? Absolutely. It'll destroy his credit for 7 to 10 years, but yes, he can discharge most of his debts. I thought about this. Marcus, who'd accumulated $45,000 in credit card debt to support his affair, was now walking away from it. All those expenses, the hotel rooms, the dinners, the gifts for Amber, he was just erasing them. What about me? Does this affect me at all? Not unless you co-signed on any of his debts, which you didn't. Your finances were separate. You're completely insulated from his bankruptcy. Good. Victoria, I want to say something. In my 20 years of practicing family law, I've seen a lot of messy divorces. Yours wasn't one of them. You handled this situation with remarkable composure and strategic thinking. A lot of people in your position would have lashed out emotionally and made costly mistakes. You didn't. You protected yourself legally and financially, and you came out the other side in better shape than when you went in. Thank you, Sarah. I couldn't have done it without you. Yes, you could have. You're exactly the kind of client attorneys dream about. Smart, rational, clear about what you want. I just helped facilitate it. After we hung up, I thought about Marcus filing for bankruptcy. In a way, it was fitting. He was declaring himself financially broken, admitting that he couldn't pay his debts, couldn't fulfill his obligations. It was a kind of surrender, a public admission of failure. And I felt nothing about it except relief that I was no longer tied to a sinking ship. Christmas came, and I brought James to my parents' dinner as promised. He charmed my mother with compliments about her cooking. He talked basketball with my father. He played with my nephews and made my sister laugh. By the end of the evening, I could tell my family approved. I like him, my mother whispered to me while we were cleaning up. He's good for you. It's still early, Mom. I know. But he looks at you the way your father looks at me. Like you're the best thing in his world. I glanced over at James, who was helping my father set up some new electronic device, and I felt my chest tighten with something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. Not the naive hope of my 20s, when I thought love was simple and marriages lasted forever. But a more mature hope, tempered by experience and loss. The hope of someone who knows that relationships can fail, but chooses to try anyway. The new year arrived, and with it came the kind of clarity that only hindsight provides. I was sitting in my apartment on January 2nd, 2025, drinking coffee and looking out at the Seattle skyline. When I realized something, I was grateful. Not for what Marcus had done, but for what I'd done in response. I'd survived a betrayal that could have destroyed me. I'd lost a marriage but gained myself. I'd watched a man I'd loved for 7 years reveal himself to be someone I didn't recognize. And instead of falling apart, I'd rebuilt. I'd gotten promoted. I bought myself a new car, a Tesla Model Y that I'd saved up for and bought outright. No loans, no co-signers, just mine. I'd started dating again. I'd reconnected with friends I'd neglected during my marriage. I'd started taking a pottery class on weekends. I'd built a life that was entirely my own. A life that couldn't be taken away by anyone else's choices. And Marcus had filed for bankruptcy, lost his career, and was working retail at 41 years old. He traded a wife who loved him and a stable life for a mistress who left him and debts he couldn't pay. I hadn't destroyed him. He destroyed himself. I just refused to let him take me down with him. February brought an unexpected piece of news. I was having dinner with Rachel when she told me, "You know how David, my friend who works with Marcus?" Well, worked with Marcus. Anyway, he ran into Amber. Amber? In Seattle? Yeah. She's back. She broke up with some guy she'd been dating in Portland and moved back here for a job. She's working as a vet tech in Ballard. Good for her. That's not the interesting part. David said she asked about you. About me? Yeah. She wanted to know if you were doing okay. If you'd moved on. She seemed genuinely concerned. I thought about my conversation with Amber back in June. About how she'd been in therapy, working through what had happened. What did David tell her? That you were thriving. That you'd gotten promoted to VP. That you were dating someone. He said she looked relieved. I was quiet for a moment. That's actually nice. It is, isn't it? Like, she's taking responsibility for her part, but also trying to move forward. Growth. Growth, I agreed. Later that night, lying in bed next to James, we'd reached the stage where he stayed over most nights. I thought about Amber. About how we'd both been collateral damage in Marcus's narcissistic game. About how we'd both survived it. I didn't want to be friends with her. That bridge had been burned beyond repair. But I could hope she was doing well. I could hope she'd learned from her mistakes the way I'd learned from mine. We'd both paid the price for trusting Marcus Chen. At least we'd both gotten out alive. March marked 1 year since the day I'd walked in on Marcus and Amber. 1 year since my entire world had shattered. I took the day off work and spent it hiking at Rattlesnake Ledge, the same place Marcus had proposed 7 years earlier. But this time I went with James. We hiked in companionable silence, stopping occasionally to catch our breath or admire the view. At the top, looking out over the lake, James put his arm around me. Beautiful up here. It is. You're quiet today. You okay? I thought about telling him what day it was. The anniversary of my discovery. But instead, I just leaned into him. I'm good. Just thinking. About what? About how different my life is now. How much better. He kissed the top of my head. I'm glad I'm part of that life. Me too. We stood there for a long time, looking out at the view, and I felt something settle in my chest. Peace. Contentment. The sense that I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Marcus had proposed to me here, in this exact spot. He'd promised me forever, and then broken that promise in the most devastating way possible. But standing here now with James, I realized something. Marcus hadn't ruined this place for me. He hadn't ruined anything for me. I'd taken back my life, my happiness, my future. I'd taken it all back and built something better than what I'd lost. And Marcus was working at a T-Mobile store in Renton, filing for bankruptcy, living with the consequences of his choices. I'd won, not by destroying him, but by refusing to be destroyed. April arrived, bringing with it the anniversary of the eviction. 1 year since Marcus had lost the house. 1 year since Amber had moved out. 1 year since everything had finally, completely fallen apart for him. I was in a meeting at work when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Victoria, this is Marcus. I know you blocked me. I'm texting from a friend's phone. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I know it's too late. I know you'll never forgive me. But I need you to know that I'm sorry. I destroyed the best thing I ever had. I know that now. I hope you're happy. You deserve to be happy. M. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I deleted it and went back to my meeting. I didn't need his apology. I didn't need his acknowledgement of what he'd done. I didn't need anything from Marcus Chen. I already had everything I needed. May brought my 1-year anniversary as VP of Strategic Marketing. My boss, Patricia, took me to lunch at a fancy restaurant in downtown Seattle. You've exceeded every expectation, she told me over sushi. The board wants to give you equity. Actual ownership stake in the company. Equity. 0.5%. It doesn't sound like much, but with our current valuation, that's worth about $2 million. I try not to choke on my sake. Are you serious? Completely. You've earned it, Victoria. Your work this year has been exceptional. The rebranding campaign alone generated $50 million in new revenue. You're an asset to this company, and we want you to know you're valued. I left that lunch feeling like I was floating. Equity. Ownership. $2 million. I called James immediately. I just got equity in my company. Victoria, that's amazing. I know. I can't believe it. My voice caught. You okay? Yeah. I'm just thinking about where I was a year ago. Divorced. Heartbroken. Starting over. And now I'm here. VP of Strategic Marketing with equity in a pharmaceutical company. Dating an amazing man. Living in a beautiful apartment. Happy. You did that, James said quietly. You rebuilt your life. You earned all of it. I know, I said. I just needed a moment to appreciate it. June brought the 2-year anniversary of when Marcus had told me he'd been cheating for 3 years. 2 years since everything started unraveling, even though I hadn't known it yet. I was cleaning out some old boxes in my storage unit, preparing to move some furniture into James's place, where I'd been spending most of my time anyway, when I found my wedding album. I sat down on the concrete floor of the storage unit and opened it. There we were, Marcus and me, on what was supposed to be the happiest day of our lives. I looked radiant in my dress. He looked handsome in his tuxedo. We looked like any other happy couple starting their life together. But I knew now what I hadn't known then, that Marcus had already been cheating on me for 1.5 years when those photos were taken. That he'd stood at that altar and promised to love and cherish me while planning to continue his affair. That every smile, every touch, every loving glance had been a lie. I looked at my face in those photos, so happy, so naive, and I felt a surge of sadness for that Victoria, for the woman who'd believed in forever, who'd trusted completely, who'd had no idea what was coming. But I also felt grateful to her, because that Victoria had been strong enough to survive what came next, smart enough to protect herself, brave enough to rebuild. I closed the album and put it back in the box, not to keep, but to throw away. I didn't need those photos anymore. I didn't need the memory of a marriage that had never been real. I carried the box to the dumpster and threw it in. Then I drove to James's place and helped him make dinner, and we ate on his balcony as the sun set over Puget Sound, and I felt nothing but gratitude for the life I had now. July marked 18 months since the divorce was finalized. James and I were at his daughter's high school graduation when he leaned over and whispered, "Move in with me." What? Move in with me. Officially. You're there almost every night anyway. Let's make it real. I looked at him, this man who'd become my partner, my confidant, my best friend over the past 10 months. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. Okay, I said. Yes. He kissed me right there in the bleachers while his daughter was receiving her diploma, and I laughed against his lips. Your daughter's going to kill you for missing her moment. Worth it, he said. I moved into James's Queen and townhouse in August, selling my Capitol Hill apartment and making a nice profit. We combined our furniture, hung my art on his walls, and made the space ours. It felt different from moving in with Marcus. Healthier. More equal. James and I talked about everything. Finances, expectations, boundaries. We split expenses proportionally based on income. We kept our own bank accounts, but had a joint account for household expenses. We established clear communication protocols. We were building something real. Something sustainable. Something that couldn't be destroyed by one person's lies. And every day, I woke up grateful for the second chance I'd been given. Not by Marcus. He'd given me nothing but pain. But by myself. I'd given myself a second chance by refusing to let his betrayal define me. September brought news from Jenna. Ran into Marcus at Safeway. He looks rough. Asked about you. I told him you were thriving, and he should leave you alone. He said, I know. I just wanted to know she's okay. Thought you should know. I read the message 3 times. Then I texted back. Thank you for looking out for me. But you don't need to anymore. Marcus is the past. I've moved on. I know you have, but I'll always have your back. That's what friends do. I smiled at that. Jenna had become a real friend through all of this. Not just a neighbor, but someone I trusted. Someone who'd seen me at my worst and still showed up. That was another gift from the wreckage of my marriage, learning who my real friends were. October brought my 40th birthday. James threw me a surprise party at a restaurant in Fremont. All my friends were there, Rachel, Jenna, my work colleagues, my family. Even James's daughter, Madison, who I'd gotten close to over the past year. I walked into that private room and saw all these people who loved me, who'd supported me through the worst time of my life, and I felt overwhelmed with gratitude. "Happy birthday," they all shouted. I spent the evening laughing and eating and drinking champagne, and I realized something. I was happy. Not happy in spite of what Marcus had done, but happy because of who I'd become after it. The betrayal had broken me open, but I'd used those broken pieces to build something better. At the end of the night, after everyone had left and James and I were in a cab heading home, I leaned my head on his shoulder. "Thank you for tonight. You deserved it. You deserve all of it, Victoria." "I know," I said, and I meant it. November marked 2 years since Marcus had filed for bankruptcy. I was scrolling through LinkedIn, something I rarely did, when I saw an update from someone I hadn't thought about in months, Marcus Chen. He'd posted about starting a new job, account manager at a small insurance firm. Not his old VP title, but a step up from retail. The post was carefully worded, talking about new beginnings and learning from past mistakes and grateful for second chances. I read it once, then closed LinkedIn. Good for him, I thought. I genuinely meant it. I hoped he'd learned something from the wreckage of his life. I hoped he'd grown. I hoped he'd become a better person. But I didn't care beyond that abstract hope. Marcus's life wasn't my concern anymore. His successes or failures had no bearing on my own happiness. He was just a person I used to know. Nothing more. December brought Christmas, and with it, an unexpected proposal. James and I were at his parents' house in Tacoma, helping his mother prepare dinner, when he asked me to grab something from the garage. I went out to the garage, looking for whatever kitchen tool he claimed we needed, and when I turned around, he was standing there holding a small velvet box. My heart stopped. "James, let me say this before I lose my nerve," he said. "Victoria, you're the strongest person I know. You've been through hell, and you came out the other side not just intact but thriving. You're brilliant and kind and funny, and you make me want to be a better man every single day. I know you were married before. I know that ended badly. But I'm not him. I'm me. And I love you. And I want to spend the rest of my life proving that not all marriages are like your first one. Some people keep their promises. Some people mean it when they say forever." He opened the box. Inside was a simple platinum band with a small diamond. "Will you marry me?" I looked at him, this good man who'd shown me that love could be honest and partnerships could be equal, and I felt tears streaming down my face. "Yes," I said. "Yes, I'll marry you." He slipped the ring on my finger and kissed me, and his mother burst out of the house cheering, clearly having been in on the plan. Later that night, lying in bed in James's childhood bedroom, I looked at the ring on my finger. I'd been here before, engaged, planning a future with someone, believing in forever. But this time felt different, because I was different. I'd been tested and broken and rebuilt. I knew now that forever was a choice you made every day, not a guarantee you received at a wedding. And I chose James. Every day I would choose him. January 2026 arrived, bringing with it a sense of completion. I'd been divorced from Marcus for almost 2 years. I'd rebuilt my career, found new love, bought a new car, moved into a new home. I'd created a life that was entirely mine, a life that no one could take from me because I'd built it on my own strength, not someone else's promises. I was sitting in my office, my VP office with the big window and the view of Lake Union, when Monica knocked on the door. "Victoria, there's a package for you." No return address. Curious, I opened it. Inside was a small wooden box. Inside the box was my grandmother's jade bracelet, the one I'd given Marcus for safekeeping years ago, the one I'd assumed was lost in the chaos of the divorce. There was a note, written in Marcus's handwriting. "Victoria, I found this when I was going through some old boxes. I know it belonged to your grandmother. I should have given it back during the divorce, but I'd forgotten I had it. I'm sorry. For this and for everything else. I heard you got engaged. Congratulations. I mean that sincerely. I hope you're happy. You deserve to be happy. Marcus." I held the bracelet in my hands, feeling the cool jade against my palm. My grandmother had worn this every day of her adult life. When she died, she'd left it to me, the oldest granddaughter. I'd given it to Marcus to put in our safe deposit box, thinking it would be protected there. And then, in the chaos of the divorce, I'd forgotten about it. Now here it was, returned to me. I put the bracelet on my wrist. It felt right there like it belonged. Then I took the note, read it one more time, and threw it away. I didn't need Marcus's apologies anymore. I didn't need his acknowledgement, or his congratulations, or his blessing. I had everything I needed. I'm writing this now in February 2026, almost 3 years after the day I discovered Marcus's affair. My wedding to James is in 6 months. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. Nothing like the big production I'd put on with Marcus. This time, I'm focused on the marriage, not the wedding. On the partnership, not the party. I'm still VP of Strategic Marketing. Still thriving in my career. Still building something meaningful. I haven't seen Marcus in over a year. I heard through Rachel that he's doing better. Still at the insurance firm. Still in therapy. Still working on himself. I'm glad for him. I genuinely am. But his life is no longer connected to mine in any meaningful way. We're just two people who used to be married. Two people who hurt each other, him through betrayal, me through calculated revenge, and then went our separate ways. Sometimes people ask me if I regret how I handled the divorce. If I regret letting Marcus think he could keep the house, if I regret the eviction, if I regret any of it. I don't. I protected myself. I used the legal and financial tools available to me to ensure I wasn't victimized further. I let Marcus face the natural consequences of his choices rather than shielding him from them. Was it revenge? Maybe. But it was also justice. Marcus thought he could have everything: the wife, the mistress, the house, the comfortable life. He thought he was entitled to it all. I showed him he wasn't. And in doing so, I saved myself. I'm writing this for anyone who's ever been betrayed. For anyone who's ever discovered that the person they loved was a stranger. For anyone who's ever had to rebuild their life from scratch. You can do it. You are stronger than you think. You are more resilient than you know. You are capable of surviving the unsurvivable and thriving afterward. But survival requires action. It requires protecting yourself, legally and financially. It requires cutting ties with people who hurt you, even when it's hard. It requires building a new life instead of clinging to the ruins of the old one. Marcus destroyed our marriage, but I refused to let him destroy me, and that made all the difference. I'm sitting in the queen and townhouse I share with James, looking out at the Seattle skyline as the sun sets over Puget Sound. My grandmother's jade bracelet is on my wrist. My engagement ring is on my finger. My life is full and rich in mine. Marcus sent me one final text a few weeks ago from yet another new number I hadn't blocked yet. I saw your engagement announcement in the paper. You look beautiful. I hope he treats you the way I should have. I hope you're happy. You deserve happiness. I'm sorry I couldn't give it to you. M. I read it, thought about responding, and then decided against it. Some chapters of your life don't need a final word. They just need to end. I blocked the number and went back to planning my wedding. My name is Victoria Chen, soon to be Victoria Park. I'm 40 years old. I'm a VP at a pharmaceutical company. I'm engaged to a man who treats me like an equal partner. I'm financially independent. I'm emotionally healthy. I'm happy. 3 years ago, my husband's mistress moved into our house. I smiled and left because she had no idea it was rented. And in leaving, I discovered something more valuable than any house, any marriage, any relationship. I discovered that I could save myself, that I didn't need anyone else to rescue me, that I was strong enough, smart enough, brave enough to rebuild my entire life from the ground up. Marcus thought he was taking my home when he moved Amber in, but all he really did was force me to find a better one. And for that, though I'd never say it to his face, I'm almost grateful. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you love the story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.